extensively on civic and community organizations, including, but not limited to, United Way of Richmond County Human Relations Council, Communities in Schools, and as a Chamber of Commerce ambassador. She is a member and supporter of the Richmond County Martin Luther King Jr. Celebration Foundation, of which she chaired the gallery committee. Kimberly is an avid traveler to the continent of Africa, having spent time in Johannesburg and Soweto, South Africa, Liberia in West Africa, and Kenya in East Africa. She is a member of Team USA for the development of the Pan-African Heritage World Museum in Ghana, West Africa. Kimberly is also a founding board member of HOLA, which stands for Helping Our Loved Ones Learn and Achieve, an active nonprofit community development corporation in Anson County. She is program director of HOLA. Africa, an extension of the organization whose mission is to expand its humanitarian efforts to West Africa. In her free time, Kimberly enjoys exercising, hiking, acting, and writing in her blog, Unexpert Speaking. She is the daughter of Sarah Harrington of Lyersville and the late T.C. Ratcliffe. She is supporting and hoping to adopt a young student whose name is Sanu Hakeem Warner from an orphanage in Liberia. Her favorite scripture is, "Delight thyself also in the Lord, and he shall give you the desires of thine heart," which is from Psalm 37:4. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome our guest speaker for this evening, Ms. Kimberly Harrington.
Round of applause. Round of applause. Stand to your feet.
Thank you. When I arrived here today, I came hungry and I came tired. You all have satisfied both of those. Thanks to the cooks for that delicious food. Let's give them a round of applause. And my spirit has been revived by the energy in the room. So thank you all so very much. I say tired because it was a busy week for us at Livingstone College. Many of you know the famed attorney, Ben Crump, who represents a lot of social injustice cases. Well, he was at our campus this week for a national panel discussion on bail reform and over-policing, at the same time giving a press conference on the update of the Shanquilla Robinson case. So I was project manager for that, and when you're dealing with celebrities or national spokespersons, no plan is ever solid. It's ever changing. So this week we went back and forth, in and out. Is it on? Is it not? Dealing with security issues. So that's why I was extremely tired this week. And but I'm not complaining. I'm grateful for that opportunity. I'm just saying that to let you know I won't be before you long. Because if I'm tired, I want to get you all home as well. I want to thank Mr. Raph Pearson for this opportunity. Thank you so very much. To the LOP, the Liberian Organization of the Piedmont, the President, Vice President, other officers, Dr. James Hunter, who is the acting chairman. To the lovely lady I just met, Representative Brown, thank you. It's a pleasure sitting at the table with you. To my friends who came, who are holding the cameras, as you can see, Mr. Clevie Williams, Patricia Sanders, and Lee Carter, thank you all for coming tonight. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
In Kenya, there's an ethnic group called the Maasai tribe. They are known as fierce warriors and skilled herdsmen. And for being able to jump really, really high in their ritualistic dances as the ladies watch. The higher they jump, the more attractive they are to the women, fellas. So jump, jump. But they are also known for a particular greeting that they have. Each morning, the elders of the tribe greet each other with the saying, Kasirian Ngiri, and forgive me if I'm mispronouncing that, but it means, and how are the children? Rather than saying, how are you, how's your day, good morning, buenos dias, jamba, habari gani, what's up, or what it is, they ask, and how are the children? Think about that for a second. The first thing on their minds in the morning is the welfare of the next generation, the well-being of their tribes, their country's future leaders. Imagine if we all did that. If our concern at the top of every morning were the children, not just in our own families, which is a great start, but the children of our neighborhoods, of our counties, of our state, our nation, and the world. Those being groomed by someone, if not you, who are the next in line to rule the world. And how are the children? I first learned about the Maasai tribe in 2005 while attending a Martin Luther King program in Rockingham, North Carolina. I like to give credit where credit is due. The speaker was Glenda Manning, an educator. A friend who accompanied me to the program was moved by that question because just a few hours earlier, he had just attended another Martin Luther King program in Wadesboro, our hometown, where the high school principal at that time informed him that the children in our county, Anson County, were not doing well. At that time, 54% of the high school students were reading below grade level. So that meant among black children, especially males, that number was even more excruciating at 33%. Would you like to know how we responded? Good. I'm glad you asked. We called the village together. At that time, it was mostly members of the local NAACP. We held a meeting and we told them that our children were not performing well, and we developed a plan of action. The principal allowed us to do something that was unprecedented. We marched through the school grounds with posters of encouragement and held a rally in the football field stadium with the entire student body, along with a popular Charlotte radio station that came down to broadcast live from the rally after they heard what we were about to do. We used chants, motivational pep talks, and music to inspire and encourage the students. Speaker after speaker went to the mic, first to let the students know that we cared for them, that we were concerned about them. Because as you are aware, no one cares how much you know until they know how much you care. We showed that care by first showing up. And don't ever discount that, because showing up is half the battle. You all showed up tonight, and that means you have placed value on what this organization is doing. So give yourselves an applause for simply showing up. Thank you. We told the students that day that we were there for the long haul. This was not a one-time deal. This was a movement, not a moment. We were all encouraged to make signs that day for the rally, so I struggled with what I was going to put on my sign that day. It wasn't until the day before, while in the shower, because that's where God likes to speak to me, is when I'm in the shower, he uttered these words, holla, helping our loved ones learn and achieve. I got out of the shower, I wrote it down before I forgot, and then I created my poster. Well, God works in mysterious ways, as we all know, because my holla poster was the most popular that day, and other speakers kept referencing my sign. At that time, the name of the movement was called Operation Save the Children. Not that captivating for young people, right? Kind of bland. Well, after the rally, when we met as a group again to further organize our movement, because again, this was a movement, not a moment, it was suggested that we use the acronym HOLLA to replace Operation Save the Children. And thusly, HOLLA was born. That was in 2005, 18 years ago. Fast forward to today, and HOLLA, of which I am a founding board member, is a successful 501c3 organization that is the paradigm of nonprofit organizations in the Sand Hills region. This summer, it will be recognized by Black Business Inc., which is based right here in Winston-Salem, among the 100 most influential organizations and individuals in the state during the State of North Carolina Black Conference in June. Yes, you can clap for that. Since our inception, HOLLA has purchased an old hardware building and repurposed it into a community center that is the hub for youth and community resources. It was developed so that young people would have a place to come for tutoring, mentoring sessions, academic reinforcement, and programs for music, theater, and arts. We built a tennis court and taught young people how to play tennis. We've taken a few group of students to the U.S. Open. And our shining example is a young lady who participated in the tennis program and earned a tennis scholarship to attend Livingstone College. We built a park within the town limits and opened a fitness center across the street from the community center because we know that health is wealth. We've given tens of thousands of scholarship dollars and cash awards throughout the years to Anson County students. We put on plays and hosted various functions for the betterment of our community. All of this because someone asks of us what the Maasai tribe asks every day. And how are the children? So I ask, how are the children in Liberia? I'm glad you asked again. I had the pleasure of visiting Liberia twice in 2019. The first time was in April of that year to attend a friend's wedding. Her name is Ophelia Valu. She's Liberian and she lives in Atlanta. She wanted to return to her native land for her wedding ceremony, and I was the American maid of honor. I went there accompanied by my best friend, Patricia. But this was not my first trip to the motherland. In 2011, I visited Johannesburg, South Africa. It was an extraordinary and fascinating trip. I went on a safari and saw elephants and zebras just an arm's reach away. I visited a lion's park and got a chance to pet a lion cub, my favorite animal. I took a djembe drum lesson, visited Nelson Mandela's home in Soweto, and met some wonderful people. It was indeed the trip of a lifetime. But that was it. My experience with South Africa ended there. I have awesome photos and wonderful memories, but it was a moment, not a movement. My connection to Liberia was deeper on so many levels. There is something to be said about Liberia's hospitality that exceeds fascination. The history of the country, for one, as it was basically colonized by freed slaves from America, was some of the first one leaving from right here in Winston-Salem to go back to Liberia. It's the similarities of its political symbolisms and structures to ours in America by design. And I consider most of the people there my extended cousins, as I'm sure down the line we're all related somewhere. The women there were welcoming and friendly. They welcomed us into their homes and into their lives. The sisterhood was palpable. The men were gentlemanly and chivalrous and confident. No matter what their economic status, their pride was their prevailing charm. And the children, how were the children? On the surface, they were bright-eyed, happy, laughing, playful, and hungry. Hungry not in the literal sense, though that is a legitimate concern, but hungry for knowledge, hungry for education, hungry for opportunity. It was the children that led me to my second trip that same year in December, and I'll get to that in a minute. Before I left in April, I told my friend that I wanted to visit an orphanage because it had always been a dream of mine to adopt a child from Africa if I did not have children of my own by the time I was 40. And now I know I'm telling my age, but when I visited for the first time, I was 49. We went to an orphanage in which her brother-in-law had a connection. It was All Saints Orphanage in Montserrat County. The director was informed that I was there due to my interest in adopting a child, which was a rarity for this facility. Not many people go there looking to adopt, so the process was a bit archaic and unorthodox. The staff, you can show the picture now if it's not up. The staff lined up all of the eligible children under a huge shade tree. They were all dressed in their uniforms of green tops and gray bottoms. Once all lined up, the director said to me, "Choose." just like that, choose. This was so awkward for me. Unreal even. Choose, like this, as if I'm shopping for a new piece of clothing. The group of friends with me cringed at the idea as well. So to break the ice, I said, let me go and greet each one of them individually. So that is what I did. I walked up to each one of them and shook their hand and introduced myself. I had told my friend, the bride, that I will only be prompted to make a connection with a child if God actually moved me to. So once I met all the children, I returned to my position facing them. She came and whispered in my ear, "Is God speaking to you?" As soon as I opened my mouth to say no, my eyes locked with one particular child. It was fate. "Wait a minute," I said. "That young fellow looks like my dad." I told the director that I wanted to meet that child. Again, to my chagrin, he went and singled this young boy from the rest of the group and told the others they were dismissed. My friends then voiced their compassion for the children regarding the process. "Oh, Kim, you should see the looks of disappointment on their faces. I can't stand to watch this," they murmured. My heart ached for those children too. The rejection they must have felt of lost opportunity for a better life. But my spirit also leaped at the opportunity to meet the little fellow who resembled my father, the one whose face I totally didn't remember seeing during the one-on-one introductions. His name was Sando Warner, and he was 13 at the time. Though he looked to be about 8 or 9, some say due to malnutrition. I shared with him my desire to adopt a child and wanted to know if he would be interested in living with me in America. He was quite shy at first, answering what I asked in a whisper. I took a photo with him and left as my plane was due to leave later that day for my return home. Ophelia, the bride, would be leaving days later, so she promised to get me the paperwork from the orphanage. Sando Warner arrived at the orphanage at the age of 6 years old. His father had died after a long sickness, and his mother was sick and unable to care for him. She later died. He has a brother, Kamara, and a sister, Alice. His aunt, whom I call Aunt Masa, couldn't raise all 3 children, so she sent the 2 boys to live at the orphanage while she raised the girl. I sent money to Liberia so that Sando could buy a phone and we could talk to get to know each other better. We talked nearly every day. I asked if he would have a problem changing his name to Hakeem upon completion of the adoption process. Now, don't judge me. Hakeem, Hakim, is a combination of my name, H-A for Harrington and K-I-M for Kimberly. He agreed to do so. When I returned back home, I approached Leon Gatewood, who is the CEO and founding president of HALA, about developing an international arm to the organization that will focus on helping our loved ones in Africa to learn and achieve. We named it HALA Africa. That December, I went back to visit Hakeem and to sponsor Christmas for the entire orphanage, again accompanied by my best friend Patricia. HALA Africa donated 3 laptop computers, 3 bikes, 3 fans, 3 dozen composition books, board games, 2 25-kilogram bags of rice, and sponsored Christmas dinner that year. I spent the entire Christmas day with them, showing them how to play the American board games, and they showed me how to race with a spoon in my mouth that held an egg. It was simply fun. The next spring, we donated 3 goats and 3 chickens. And the next Christmas, we shipped items there to sponsor Christmas again at the orphanage, which included bikes, games, baby dolls, books, and clothes. I am still in the process of bringing Hakeem here, hopefully this fall, to attend Livingstone College. I just thank you. I just spoke with him and his aunt today as they went to process his passport. So they called to tell me that he needed to change his birth certificate, and I was a little perplexed. And I said, why? because in school he had officially changed his name to Hakeem Harrington, and his birth certificate needed to reflect that. This was a total surprise to me, and this morning I wept when I heard that. In the meantime, and no matter what happens, I am his mother, and he is my son. And all the children at the orphanage are my neighborhood kids. When I send Hakeem and his brother things, I am sure to include the others with something as well. We've paid for the school fees of his sister. We bought much needed malaria medicine for other children at the orphanage. We've connected sponsors here with children there. Hakeem has excelled in school. He was recently elected student government president of his senior class and gave an inspiring acceptance speech. That once shy child is now standing before crowds of people talking of how to change his corner of the world. While we don't take credit for this, I would like to believe that with God, prayer, and our influence in his life, we had a little something to do with it because we gave him hope. As you can see, when given opportunity, children can excel. This is what Holla Africa is trying to provide, and this is what Ralph Pearson is doing through the Backbush Children Education Association. And how are the children in Liberia when it comes to education? According to UNICEF, the children could be doing better. The ripples from Liberia's civil wars are still being felt today. During the war, schools were damaged or destroyed. Teachers fled and did not return, leaving children to have to attend community schools or to drop out altogether. Liberia has one of the world's highest levels of out-of-school children, with an estimated 15% to 15% of 6 to 14-year-olds who are not in class. 40% of primary school students are 3 years older than they should be for their grade. 16% of primary school-age students are not in school at all. And more than half don't complete primary school, and listen to this, with more girls failing than boys. I believe it was Dr. James Agri, a Livingstone College graduate and famous educator from Ghana, who said if you educate a man, you educate an individual. But when you educate a woman, you educate a nation. Progress is being made. The Ministry of Education, UNICEF, and others like the Backbush Group are building schools, repairing classrooms and training teachers. At Livingstone College, because of a memorandum of understanding partnership that we have with the Liberian Organization of the Piedmont and the government of Liberia to promote education, we sponsor 2 students from Liberia every 2 years, a value of $1 million every 4 years. When we first started Holla Africa, some local citizens criticized us, saying we should keep our focus on children in America. My response was, why can't we do it all? We are one. And now, instead of defending it, I used Oprah Winfrey for inspiration. When she was building her boarding school in South Africa instead of in America, she faced major complaints, to which she replied, critics be damned. Do what you can in your corner of the world, whether that be in your neighborhood, your church, your city or town, your state, your organization, your nation of one. Just do something. Margaret Mead once said, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. A small group of people started Holla and are changing the lives of children one by one in Anson County. An even smaller sect started Holla Africa, me, and are changing the lives of Liberian children at an orphanage one by one. Ralph Pearson and the Backbush Children Education Association are changing the lives of children in that community one by one. If each one would reach one and teach one, we will all overcome. Don't ever underestimate the power you hold in your hands to make a difference. Don't get caught up in numbers. How many lives did you touch? How much money did you make? You being here tonight makes a difference. You giving makes a difference. Simply talking to a child, sponsoring their school fees, the amount we spend, by the way, for one meal at a fancy restaurant makes a difference. I leave you tonight with the tale of the starfish. A young girl was walking along a beach upon which thousands of starfish had been washed up during a terrible storm. When she came to each starfish, she would pick it up and throw it back into the ocean. Pick it up, throw it back into the ocean. People watched her with amazement. She had been doing this for some time when a man approached her and said, "Little girl, why are you doing this? Look at this beach. You can't save all these starfish. You can't begin to make a difference." Critics. The girl seemed crushed, her spirit deflated. But after a few minutes, she bent down, she picked up another starfish and hurled it as far as she could into the ocean. Then she looked up at the man and replied, "Well, I made a difference to that one." Thank you. Let us help Back Bush make a difference. Dr. Pearson, will you please come forward? My former president used to say, love is an action word. On behalf of Holla Africa, we present you with a check for $500 for Back Bush Children Education Association. Thank you all so much again for having me.
Amazing.